For 6 months, Lae'zel has been learning the ways of Faerun by your side as you traveled together far and wide. A letter, written in a frail hand, interrupted your adventures. An invitation to a gathering of former allies, those who stood with you against the Netherbrains 6 months ago. The location is familiar, and though the road is hard and long, you would not miss this for the world.
Thou wert called here, some from above, some below. For with thine bond, together thou hast kept the wheel of fate spinning when it threatened to halt. Though thou wert drawn far apart in the months after the collapse of the Absolute, tonight, fate renews thy bond once more. Thou shouldst take care to preserve it. It is a great weapon, wielded in the hand of good. Go. Know one another once more.
Just a talk.
You were starting to wonder if you'd show up. Honestly, so have I. Oh, come here, will you? It's been forever. You feel a little more substantial than before. Less camping and scrounging off the land, I take it. I'm not entirely sure I'd agree. In fact, I found a nice meadow not far from where I live now. Every now and again, I'll spend the night there. For old time's sake. I'm glad you seem well. Trudy. I had no doubt. But I'm glad to hear you say it all the same. Must I? You presume a great deal. I'm joking. Of course I want to know. Tell me all. Do you ever rest? Think of all those poor, budding adventurers looking to make a name for themselves. Take some time off and give them a chance, why don't you? Hopefully these meetups will become a regular occurrence. It's not that I miss the tadpoles, but at least it brought us together. Now we've got to make the extra effort ourselves. I'm sure we will, but let's be proactive about it all the same. We're more than capable. After all, we've faced down bigger threats than wrangling together a few social calendars. Don't be a stranger.
Think about any of the local brains. Far too tempting. Ah, soldier. How glad I am to see you again. I'd started to wonder if I ever would. I'm sorry I haven't reached out. I guess I wasn't sure what you'd make of me. I've changed so much. But then again, you have too. Stubbornly yourself, aren't you? I suppose I used to be too. But this evolution has shown me parts of myself I never knew existed. For example, my favorite food used to be mutton chops. Do you know what it is now? Brains, soldier. Brains. I thought I was good at cracking skulls before. Now I've got it down to something of a science. Or maybe more of a religion. I've made arrangements with a healer in the city. When a patient is beyond saving, but still able to speak for themselves, they're offered a choice. They can go as nature intends to take them, or when they're ready, when their goodbyes have been said, their affairs settled, and all that awaits them is pain, I relieve them. When I consume their brains, I am nourished by much more than the physical nutrition. Their memories, from birth to death, become part of me. I've lived hundreds of childhoods, first loves, marriages, feuds and friendships. I remember them all. And in this way, we all live on together. I think of you too. This life of ours, soldier. It's a long one, if we're lucky. Who knows what the future holds for either of us? It's been wonderful to see you again. Reminds me of old times around the campfire. We used to think becoming a mindflayer was a fate worse than death. I wouldn't trade my life, this life, for anything. Funny how things change, isn't it? Enjoy the night, my friend. I know I will.
Well now, you can make yourself presentable when you have a mind to. Oh, forgive me. I am simply excitable. It is good to be out under an open sky once more. My first, since the reconstruction began. We left quite a mess behind. But the city begins to look something like itself once more. Same twisting alleys for purse pickers. Same wooden buildings ready to get burnt by next year's dragon. Same cisterns overflowing. Huh. I knew an Everescan Greycloak who would say, Baldur's Gate will be the death of me. But I can't say it doesn't hold all of life. Baldurians simply get on with it. Stubbornness, civic spirit, plain stupidity. Perhaps all three, but nothing I will sniff at any longer. Harpers have come from half the world over to lend aid. Farmers, masons, healers. My own son, Jord, has been wooed to their ranks. Already he plans crop cycles in Worm's Crossing. Not so for my daughter. Ryan's rejoined the Flaming Fist. Temporarily, you understand. To organize the craftsmen. Though she spends more time locking up comrades for pocketing 8 ones. They might learn a thing or two, if they don't expel her. Again. There is still much to do. People to house. A Harper network to rebuild. I may have little love for this city, but so long as my family chooses to serve it, I can do no less. For all your travels, I hope you have arrived where you want to be. Home. Whatever that means to you. Ah, sentiment. With the greatest affection, I can think of better ways to sour our stomachs. I must inspect the refreshments. You'll never know. Some ne'er-do-well might have tampered with the wine.
You would think someone of my vintage would be inured to the passage of time. Yet these past 6 months have seemed endless without your company. But now, our paths cross once more. We have all pined for each other's company, I sense. I cannot imagine otherwise after what we shared. That bond was forged in a crucible that can never be stoked again, Oak Father willing. It is a bond that can weather any distance, any passage of time. I know it can, for I feel the longing for old friends in my heart each day. I always do. Should I ever decline, assume a doppelganger has taken my place. That was more than worth the wait. That was more than worth the wait? Oh, I suppose you didn't mean that literally. Now, we have much to catch up on. Do not allow me to ramble on. I am eager to hear all you've been doing. In that case, very well. Our community grows rapidly. In 6 months, we have turned what was once a shadowy wasteland into a true home for all. In another 6 months, I would wager the scars of the past will be entirely invisible, even to those who remember them. The old masonry of Moonrise Towers and Rythwin have been repurposed into new homes, and the land is rich with harvests and bountiful trees. Nature and civilization are in harmony, stronger together. It is, truly, though a more complex, evolving beast than I could ever have anticipated. I spoke often of balance before. Only now do I realize the balance is no simple, fixed thing. We welcome folk from all walks of life, anyone who wishes for a new start. Naturally, it can be chaotic at times, but it is a thrilling sort of chaos. It thrives in ways I could never have dreamed of. As am I. I may age more slowly than most, but I do believe I've gained some new laughter lines of late. Now, please, tell me all, and spare no details. I shall not lie. I have an ulterior motive in wishing to hear all. It is the children, you see, my charges. Their appetite for bedtime tales is greater than I could ever have anticipated. Another story, Daddy Halsin. Another is the chorus that greets me each nightfall. They have all but exhausted my repertoire in but a few short months. No mean feat given the lifetime I have lived. I desperately need new material, please. My reputation is at stake. I am all ears. Though I never cared for that phrase. A rather unsettling image. You have kept yourself busy. I expected no less in truth. I shall be able to keep the children enthralled for a few more nights yet, thanks to you. And should you wish to retell of your exploits in person, well, I shall not object to a night off. Now, it would be cruel of me to hoard you all to myself for the evening, as much as I would like to. I shall leave you to the others for now, unless there was anything else. Quite often. They come and go as they please, but with so many playmates to avail of, they are far from strangers. They ask after you often. What you did for them will never be forgotten. I can see it in the land all around me. But more importantly, I see it in their faces whenever they visit. To make a child smile is to dabble with the power of gods, as far as I'm concerned. I spend half my days in ursine form. The children demand it. I had a score of them taking turns riding upon my back just days ago. I'm glad they are so comfortable with the Oakfather's creations. But they must learn that not all are as amiable as I am. A lesson for another time, though. They deserve some joy. As for roaming, that impulse has dwindled, I must admit. Perhaps because I have found where I am meant to be. As did I, but somehow I feel like I no longer need to roam. That I have found something worthy laying roots for. Amazing what can be discovered about oneself, even at a ripe old age. On occasion, but I prefer not to interfere. Francesca of the High Forest is Archdruid now, and by all accounts, she has proven to be a steady and wise influence. Even Korga may yet find true balance, thanks to her influence. By all means. Your embrace makes me feel safer than any armor could. Before you go, I have something for you. Just a little keepsake, really. Do you remember how I told you I like to whittle? I made this. Ducks are my favorite, but I thought they were particularly fitting in this case. They are migratory birds, of course, traveling far and wide with the turn of the seasons. Yet, they always find their way back to where they belong. Just like old friends find themselves back in each other's company. Just a token to remember me by. Now, I've taken up enough of your time. Go on. Enjoy the festivities. We can speak again later.
Well, well. Look what the Tressim dragged in. Professor Gale Decarius of Blackstaff Academy. Educator of the esteemed School of Illusion. A pleasure to remake your acquaintance. Well, that was quite lovely. I'm glad you're as pleased to see me as I am you. I have to say, I'm quite grateful to just be Gale for the evening. I fear my students find me somewhat intimidating due to my, explosive former reputation. I seem to put the fear of the gods into them. Or the fear of Mystra, to be more specific. I surrendered the crown of Karsus to her, as I told you I would. And in return, she cured me of the orb at last. Even now, I struggle to put the feelings into words. It was like exhaling for the first time after holding my breath for so very long. Of course, I haven't clarified with my students that the orb is no longer a threat. The legend of my explosive capabilities is an excellent means of controlling a classroom. Too good, if anything. I spend most of my time trying to convince them how much fun the study of magic can be. But it'd be easier to crack a smile on an intellect devourer than some of my pupils. Ah, so you still remember our little lesson. It was at that moment, the weave connecting us, that I realized how much your friendship had come to mean to me. As it still does. You were, of course, indulging me in submitting to such a lesson. Teaching you was hardly an effort at all. Not like my present cohort of apprentices. Oh, they try their best, of course, when they can manage to stay awake.
The cheek of them! Nothing a well-placed swipe from Tara can't fix, though.
And what of you? What are you making of this newfound lease of life we earned? And I couldn't be happier for you. A fitting reward for the sacrifices you made in getting here. I've told my students plenty of tales about our escapades. You're something of a hero to them, you know? I'd be delighted to introduce you to my current cohort as a guest lecturer, perhaps. I'm sure they'd have plenty of questions for you. Excellent. I knew you wouldn't be able to resist the allure of sharing your expertise. Of course, you'll be most welcome to stay with me in my tower. My apologies, Tara. That would be our tower. It will give us plenty of time to catch up on your adventures. I'm very curious to know what you've been up to these past months. But I suspect the telling of that tale would keep you tied to me all evening. So, in the spirit of selflessness, I encourage you to mix and mingle for now, with time enough to come.
Gods, I must look a mess. I just rolled out from under a pesky ogre when Withers yanked me in. Oh, I didn't mean that. I just gutted the ogre, not... How about I change the subject before I dig this hole any deeper? By the stars' light and the moon's glow. It's so good to see you, Astarion. I suppose you've been slinking in the night for the occasional feast. A pity you can't join me in open hunt. The trolls I've torn open. The ghouls I've cleaved. The stories I've been itching to tell. I don't suppose you'd indulge me. Yes, but just the one, or I'll be yammering all night. You want to hear about the stegosaurus that bullied Candle Keep, the impossible lich, or the young dragon who crawled out of Deeping Cave? Wizards have a penchant for unusual pets. A flying cat. Delightful. A menagerie of dinosaurs, on the other hand. The wizard in question was called Rylan. Had a half-dozen eggs smuggled into Candlekeep from the jungle. Did you know it takes 3 10 days for a hatchling stegosaurus to reach the size of a cave bear? Rylan sure didn't. Wasn't a month before the place was overrun by rampaging stegos. The great readers dealt with 5 of them without too much trouble. The remaining one, well, young Rylan cast in large on it by mistake. The beast rampaged through the baths, demolished Ogma's temple, and smashed through the east wall. Stegos may not have much taste for meat, but they've got a hell of a temper. Luckily, this one had only clobbered a few farmhouses once I'd caught up. The ground shook as it charged me. I vaulted over the beast and grabbed it by the tail. It bucked and bellowed as I climbed its plates and straddled its head. I plunged a blade into the left eye, straight into the brain. It fell to the ground with a thud. Bet the ravens are still picking at its carcass to this day. I've missed you too. And your cunning tongue, of course. And did I mention your hair? I might have missed that most of all. If I had to do it all over again, and I'd rather not, to be clear. I can't imagine not having you at my side. I wish you'd been there to join in. Oh, to battle together, just like the old days. I suppose that's my way of saying I miss you. Tonight, I toast not just the people we've become, but the people we were. Warriors, winners, saviors. I've seen him more than a few times, and he's as proud of me as I am of him. He's leading the city's renewal, opened the gates to all newcomers, rebuilt the council from scratch. And he's back in his element, commanding the Flaming Fist with brave heart and no shortage of empathy. The likes of Gortash can bend people's minds with a few chosen words. No tadpole needed. Bane's Chosen primed the Fist for a war they weren't meant to win. He convinced them there was an assassin hiding in every shadow, that cruelty was the correct answer to crisis. With a few exceptions, fathers pardoned every last fist. If my forgiveness not be Tyr's will, so be it. I shall forgive them all the same. His words, not mine. He still believes in the bow and the blade, but with Floric's help, he's teaching the fist a new lesson. Valor is found not in the wounds you inflict, but in the lives that you have bettered. May they all take it to heart. She's kept her leash loose, though I've been no stranger to the hells. Every target she's set me on's been a demonic intruder. Tenari assassins who slip into Avernus, Armonites that amass near the Styx. My next mark's the most challenging yet, or so she says. I don't know much more, only that it's no demon, but a devil. She's playing a game. I don't know what it is or how she plans to win, but I can tell you this much. I'd fall on my own blade and join the blood war in an instant should Zariel's hell-touched fingers stretch towards the coast. And as long as I'm more useful as a warlock, that's not a risk Mazora would take. Go on, the night's young. You shouldn't waste a moment of it. Or waste a single drop of wine for that matter. I plan on downing half a bottle myself. Oops, did I say half a bottle? I meant half a dozen.
Jacques von Fendu. I thought watching you slay Vlaakith's hunters in the cliffs of Sword's Teeth might be the month's pinnacle. But I was wrong. Being right here, with you, is an infinitely greater pleasure. Alas, I can only rest so long. I've got wind of a Githyanki outpost hidden deep in Chult, the last of Vlaakith's Sword Coast strongholds. I say we sneak in under cover of night. We slit every last throat, and you feed until your belly's full. What say you? Ah, your endless charms are exceeded only by your endless appetites, Astarion. Just be sure to keep me on the menu. Now go, mingle while you can. That's the word, right? Mingle? I won't be far. Not tonight. Not ever. Love. Until I knew you, I thought the mere idea a joke. A weakness indulged only by lesser species. You proved me a fool. I am forever grateful. A taste I will never grow tired of.
This one night is like any other, and yet different. Thou art the savior of Baldur's Gate, until such time it requires saving again. How dost thou feel? I am pleased to hear it. The satisfaction of one's intention is, to my surprise, a rare accomplishment. Enjoy the revelry of the day. Thou deservest at least that much. What indeed? Prick up thy ears and listen. The balance of the world restored. The balance of these lives, mortal and otherwise, brought to account. Hear me, thou heroes, wastrels, friends. I have waited long to tell you these words. It is over. For now. Thou played thy part in weaving the fabric of fate itself, but for every thread you sewed, so did the gods unravel another. Sleep, rest, revel, but be ready, for thou mayst yet be needed. Until we meet again, I wish thee every possible fortune, health, wealth, love, and above all, problems worth solving. To you.
A thief, a liar, and a fool. We had an agreement, and you broke it. The crown was supposed to be mine. Instead of delivering it to its true home in the Hells, you allowed Gale Dekarios to deliver it to Mystra. I should snuff you out and make coin of your soul. But it will be more amusing to let you see the consequences of your actions. Do you really think that the crown is safer in the hands of a goddess than in the claws of a devil? Look to the history of these realms. It is not the devils, but the gods who sunder, wreck, and ruin. It is the gods who instigate each new crisis. It is the gods who almost brought doom to your world. I was merely a witness to their conspiracy. And I would have dealt fairly with you. I cannot say what Mystra will do. Perhaps the crown is a mere trinket to one of her power. Or perhaps it is the key to unlocking some dreadful new potential in her portfolio. Time will tell, as it always does. Look to the heavens and pray for peace. But prepare for a cataclysm.